At first, the goal is simple. Protect the money you finally built. Do not waste it. Do not let relief turn into carelessness. Do not let one financial win become permission to redesign your entire life. But eventually, the problem changes. Because at some point, protecting money is not enough. At some point, the next dollar needs a new job. And this is where a lot of people get stuck. They know how to save. They know how to say no. They know how to keep money in the account. But investing feels different. It feels like a different language, different buttons, different accounts, different risks. And because it feels unfamiliar, they keep doing the thing they already know how to do. They keep saving, which sounds responsible. And for a while, it is. But saving and investing are not the same skill. They are not even the same activity. Most people fail at investing, not because they picked the wrong stock. They fail because they treat investing like saving with extra steps. It is not. Saving is fuel. Investing is the engine. Fuel matters. Without fuel, the engine cannot run. But fuel sitting in a tank does not move the car. Up until now, you have been collecting fuel. That was the right move. The first cushion has a job. It keeps one bad week from becoming a disaster. It keeps a late paycheck, a broken car, a medical bill, or a job scare from sending you back to zero. That money is not lazy. That money is security. But once the foundation is there, every new long-term dollar cannot keep doing the same job forever. If every dollar is treated like emergency money, none of your money ever graduates. That is the shift. Not from safe to reckless. From saving everything to giving each dollar the right assignment. There is money that protects you, and there is money that builds for you. The first mistake is confusing those two piles. So before we talk about accounts, funds, or anything with a ticker symbol, say this clearly. Do not invest your emergency fund. Do not invest rent money. Do not invest money you need in the next few months. Do not invest next year's tuition, next month's tax bill, or money you know you will need soon. That money is still fuel. It belongs in cash. But if you're sitting at $10,000 or more, and every extra dollar is just joining the same pile because you're scared to take the next step, then the problem has changed. The risk is no longer only losing money. The risk is your money never becoming anything else. And in 2026, that risk is not theoretical. Inflation is still real. The latest U.S. CPI report showed prices up 3.8% over the previous year. At the same time, normal savings accounts are not some magic shield. Many bank accounts still pay almost nothing. Even a strong cash account around 4% is barely ahead of inflation before taxes. That means cash can feel safe because the number on the screen does not move down. But purchasing power can still leak out quietly. This is the uncomfortable truth. Cash is safe over short periods. Cash is dangerous when you pretend it is a 30-year plan. If $10,000 earns 4% while inflation runs close to that, your real purchasing power barely changes. But if long-term money compounds at a historical stock market type return, the gap over decades becomes enormous. Not because the market is magic, because time is doing more of the work. That does not mean put everything in the market tomorrow. That is the panic version of growth. The mature version is slower. You keep the fuel. Then you start the engine. Step 1. Accept that your savings account has a limit. Not morally. Functionally. A savings account is excellent at one job: being there. That is why your emergency fund belongs there. But it is bad at another job. growing wealth over decades. The problem is that beginners often ask one account to do both. They want the money to be instantly available, never go down, beat inflation, compound for retirement, and make them feel safe every day. No account does all of that. You have to separate the jobs. Cash is for stability. Investments are for long-term growth. If you cannot leave the money alone for several years, it probably should not be invested. If you can leave it alone for decades, it probably should not sit in cash forever. That sentence is the doorway. Step 2. Open the right account before you buy anything. This is where beginners usually go in the wrong order. They ask, what stock should I buy? What fund should I buy? What is the best thing right now? But the first question is not the asset. The first question is the container. The account you use can change the tax treatment, the rules, the limits, the flexibility, and the consequences. The account is not just paperwork. The account is part of the machine. In the United States, that might mean a 401k, a 403b, a 457, a Roth IRA, a traditional IRA, or a taxable brokerage account. If your employer offers a match, that is usually the first place to look, because free matching money changes the math. After that, a Roth IRA or traditional IRA may make sense depending on your income, tax situation, and eligibility. Then, a taxable brokerage account can be useful once the tax-advantaged space is not enough, or if the money needs more flexibility. If you're in the UK, the closest idea might be using a Stocks and Shares ISA before a regular taxable account. If you're in Canada, it might be a TFSA or an RRSP. If you're in Australia, it might involve superannuation and then taxable investing. The names change by country. The principle does not. Buying the right fund in the wrong account can still be a weaker move than using the right account first. So do not start by asking, what is the clever investment? Start by asking, where should this long-term dollar live? Step 3. Pick the boring default. This is the part that disappoints people. Because after all the fear, all the research, all the videos, and all the jargon, the answer for most beginners is not dramatic. It is usually a broad market index fund, something boring, something diversified, something that owns a large basket of companies instead of betting your future on one idea. In the United States, people often talk about total market funds, or S&P 500 funds. Names like VTI, VTSAX, ITOT, SCHB, or similar low-cost broad index funds come up for a reason. Not because they are exciting, because they are not trying to be exciting. An index fund is not you saying, I know which company wins. It is you saying, I do not need to know which company wins in order to participate in the market as a whole. That is a very different posture. Beginners often think, investing maturity means having opinions. Which company is undervalued? Which sector is next? Which AI stock is still early? Which crypto cycle are we in? But for most people, the mature move is admitting that you do not need to win that game. You're not trying to prove you are clever. You're trying to build a machine you can keep running for years. Boring is not weak. Boring is durable. And in the beginning, durable matters more than impressive. If you want to learn stock picking later with a small, separate pile, fine. But do not make your first engine out of hot takes. Make the main machine boring. Step 4. Automate the buying, not just the saving. The move is simple. Make the money leave before life spends it. That same idea still works. It just has to move up one level. Before, the automation was paycheck to savings. Now it becomes paycheck to investing account to actual investment. That last part matters. A lot of beginners transfer money into a brokerage account and think they invested, but the money just sits there in the settlement fund or cash position. They opened the engine bay, poured in the fuel, and never turned the key. So your system needs 2 steps. Money moves into the account. Then money buys the investment. It can be small, $50 a week, $100 a month. Whatever amount is real for your life and does not threaten the foundation. The goal is not to look impressive. The goal is to make the action normal. Same day, each month, same broad fund, same rule. Whether the market feels exciting or boring, whether the news sounds calm or dramatic. This is often called dollar cost averaging, but you do not need the buzzword. You just need the behavior. You're teaching your future self that investing is not a mood. It is a rhythm. Step 5. Decide what you will do when it drops 30%. Not if. When. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year. But if you invest for decades, you will eventually see ugly numbers. 10% down, 20% down, 30% down. The mistake is waiting until that moment to discover your personality. Because when your account is red, your brain does not become wiser. It becomes louder. It starts telling stories. What if this time is different? What if I started at the worst possible moment? What if everyone else was right, and I am the fool? That is why the rule has to exist before the drop. Before you buy, write it down. If this money is for the long term, and my emergency fund is intact, I do not sell because of headlines. If the market drops, my automatic buying continues unless my real life has changed. If I feel panic, I wait 72 hours before making any decision. If I change the plan, it will be because my goals changed, not because the screen turned red. That is the rule. It sounds simple when the market is calm. It feels completely different when it is your money. And this is the moment that changes everything. The first time you see your investments drop 10% in a week, and you do not sell. Not because you are fearless, not because you enjoyed it, not because you're pretending volatility is fun, because you already decided who is in charge. The market can move. Your plan does not have to. That is the muscle. That is what most beginners do not understand. The first real investing win is not picking something that goes up. The first real investing win is watching something go down and not turning your long-term plan into a short-term reaction. Because selection matters, fees matter, accounts matter. But for a normal person building from 10,000 to 25,000, the biggest enemy is usually not a spreadsheet mistake. It is a reaction mistake. Selling because it dropped, stopping because it feels boring, chasing because someone else got rich faster, changing the whole plan because 1 month felt bad. This is why investing is a different skill. Saving trained you to protect. Investing trains you to endure. You still need protection. You still keep the cushion. But now, you also need a system that can grow without needing your emotions to be perfect. So here is the whole move. 1. Protect the emergency fund. 2. Decide which dollars are long-term. 3. Open the right account. 4. Choose a boring diversified fund. 5. Automate the buying. 6. Write the drop rule before the drop happens. That is it. Not because investing is easy, because the first version has to be simple enough that you will actually do it. The goal at this stage is not to become an expert. The goal is to become someone who has started. Someone who can keep cash for safety without mistaking cash for a future. Someone who can buy boring investments without needing the internet to clap. Someone who can see red on the screen and remember that a long-term plan is allowed to have short-term discomfort. That is how you move from 10,000 to 25,000 differently. You do not abandon the foundation. You build on top of it. The savings account is still the fuel tank, but now there is an engine. And once the engine starts, the next danger is quieter. Because as your money begins to grow, your life will start asking for a raise too. Better apartment, better phone, better clothes, better weekends. Nothing crazy, just a slightly upgraded version of everything. That is the force that drains the engine from inside. So once the engine is running, do not only watch the market. Watch the life around it. Because the thing that slowly drains your progress is not always a crash. Sometimes it is what happens after life starts feeling easier.